Alright folks, what the fudge is this thing? 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏𝗏 Tiger Mouse, 120 tons. Does not really look like a Tiger Hull or a mouse turret. Looks a little bit like it in the front, but it's oval shape compared to the rectangular shape on the actual mouse, so kind of a weird hybrid. And that looks like a E100's hull with a bow machine gun port and a different side skirt package, but there's a coaxial 75 and the 128, so okay. Mix and match your turrets onto your chassis, but that is the wargaming way. We already have a bunch of rear-mounted super heavy tanks for the Germans, the 72s, the 75s, the 4502P-OSB, not counting the Moishin. There's a bunch. Yeah, there's a bunch. Wait, there's actually roof armor plating on top of the turret. So additional armor plating, if that's actually calculated, but prevents you from high explosive rounds from artillery or grenades, yada yada. That also looks more like a longer E100's hull too. Huh. 3, 6, 9. 9 pairs of road wheels, not counting the drive wheels, but let me take a closer look. 3, 6, 8. There's only 8. It's a little bit longer than an E100's hull, but that's a big boy. Engine in the middle, driver likely here with the radio operator or something for the bow machine gun, but big ass turret. There's a cleft on the bottom. Huh. I mean, it's a big ass turret when you look at it, comparable to the actual mouse turret. Look how big the turret is compared to the actual hull size. Yeah, definitely German super heavy tank. Okay. Do we need really another tier 9 premium tank? Well, most of them are okay, but this one seems actually decent. Commander Cupola is not that big, comparable to the 𝗣𝗏-4502 P-OSB, so not that big of a Commander Cupola. And if the additional armor plating acts as space armor, then that's pretty good. So it is like the tier 9 version of the Commander Cupola. Not as crazy as the Moishin. Not as big as the original ones found on like the Tiger P or something, but yeah, it's like that cupola. Kind of look like this cupola, but I have a skin mod, so neat. Alright, let's take a look at the stats. 128 has more alpha than the actual 128s on the German heavy tanks. It's not as crazy as the tank destroyer version, but definitely better than the standard heavy tank version. Penetration is average for AP. Same goes with gold shell, high explosive. Shell velocity is about the same as the regular 128. Nothing to write home about. DPM is about 2100, so okay-ish, I guess. Aim time is actually quick. Accuracy is not half bad for the 128 on a heavy tank. 7 degrees of gun depression. That's interesting. That's also pretty decent. And 23 elevation. That's also pretty good. Gun traverse speed is slow, but it is a super heavy. And 40 rounds. Okay. Full crew of 6, as expected. Top speed is actually pretty decent. I mean, it's better than the 20 or so on the mouse. It has 10 horsepower per ton ratio, so weighs 120 tons, obviously. Hull traverse is actually not half bad for such a large vehicle. Health is decent. It's super heavy. 200 millimeters at the hull front, so very comparable to the E100's freaking hull. That's like 300 plus millimeters effective, so you're not penetrating the upper plate, is not going anywhere. Turret armor is actually thicker than the mouse. It's 300 on paper. So the actual mouse is like what, 270? 260-ish? It's 260 on the rounded flat front, but if it's 300, then hell, it's better than the mouse turret for some reason. Side armor is also pretty decent with the side skirts. It's 120 and 150 for the turret, so pretty bouncy. Small Commander Cupola weak spot, small bow machine gun weak spot. Pretty decent. Concealment, Yeah, 5.1? That is actually pretty good for a super heavy tank, but I don't trust it. So we'll take a look at the actual garage stats, but 400 meters of view range, pretty good. Radio standard. On paper, it seems pretty decent. I mean, compare this to one of my favorite tanks, the Tier 9 𝗣𝘇.𝗲𝗄𝗏. It's actually better side armor, obviously, with the side skirts. Hull armor is debatable, but it looks better sloping with the 200mm on the upper plate. And health is about the same. Same goes with the turret. Well, the turret front is weaker on paper, but it is a smaller area for your gold shield. It does have the Commander Cupola weak spot. And I don't think they actually model the bow machine gun weak spot on this vehicle. They took that away, so yeah, it's still 200. So it's unlike the Malware Breaker, the 168, where they actually modeled the weak spot on the bow machine gun port. But yeah, people say they don't like this vehicle. It's underrated. It's pretty good. Look at the upper plate. If you angle this vehicle, lower plate is about 300mm effective. Upper plate, same. Side armor, side scraping is good. What's not to like, right? So, people don't like this vehicle for some reason. So it's very same, comparable to the weak spot on the 168, the Malware Breaker, with their bow machine gun thing. So it's like with the 𝗲𝗇, but the turret is moved to the front for some reason. But I know they modeled the weak spot. Yeah, they modeled the weak spot. Only 140. It's only 180 for the whole front? Huh. And the machine gun is 140 around. Yeah, that's a weak spot. And not to mention the gigantic Commander Cupola. That is pretty big. Wow, that is only 150? I think they buffed the 𝗲𝗇, the Tier 9 mouse, in terms of the Commander Cupola armor. Yeah, it's 240 compared to 150. It's definitely better on the Tier 9 mouse. Why the hell did they buff it to 240 from 150? That is insane. That is crazy. I mean, if the Malware Breaker has the 240 Commander Cupola, that would be a lot more viable, but alright, enough segue. So I think it's actually pretty decent. Let's take a look at the actual stats. Assault, Pentagon, heavy tank heavy tank. Heavy tank, assault heavy tank, similar to the mouse or the E100s, relying on health and armor. So 2100 DPM, accuracy 0.35 with a 100% crew, and 2.3 seconds of aim time. That is pretty good. DPM is kind of low, but you can put a rammer on that thing. It's actually pretty decent. You have the alpha over the normal tier 9s, but side armor is decent. I mean, if you're already used to playing the German super heavies, then that horsepower per ton ratio is not a big deal, but 32 kilometers per hour top speed is pretty good compared to like 20 or something. Oh yeah, 20 for this thing. Whoa, gross. Wait, the 𝗣𝘇.𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗄 has better top speed. Oh, the same. 32. Not bad. E75 has 35, right? 40. Yeah, E75 is obviously better, but this thing is underrated. Wow. It's very comparable to the tier 9. Yeah, actual camo is not 5.1. It's 2.77. So wargaming obviously doesn't proofread. It's a super heavy tank. It doesn't have camo, but 7 degrees is better than 5 degrees on the tier 9. 5 degrees and better gun elevation too. Only downside is larger area for gold shell, but if it's 300mm, slightly slope or rounded, then that's pretty good. What's not to like? I mean, if you're used to super heavy tanks playing slow and playing side scraping battles, then this is pretty decent. Very decent. It weighs 120 tons. I mean, that's no actual mouse. Actual mouse is like 190. And not comparable to the 168. it weighs 168. But still, that weight is better than the 4502, right? Yeah, 80-ish tons on this thing. I mean, you're not ramming anybody, but still, it's impressive that this thing goes about the same speed as a 4502, just with 40 more tons. Shell velocity the same as the tier 9s. Yeah, shell velocity is the same. Yep, 920 is alright. You're at close range. Add a few gold shells, but you have better alpha for the gold shell by 40. So 10% more alpha, high rolls. Huh, what's not to like? It makes spawns too. It is a premium tier 9. Huh. Is it historically accurate? Nobody knows. Your guess is good as mine if this thing actually existed. What happened really is they made 2 models of the mouse, version number 1 and version number 2. Version number 2 has actually a turret, but the Russians actually salvage the turret from version number 2 and put it onto version number 1. And that's the only model existing in Kubinka in Russia, so the rest of the stuff were captured by the British and other stuff, but whatever. Comparing it to a WZ-114 premium tier 9 heavy tank, but has less pen. The only downside to the 114 is DPM sucks and dispersion is god awful. So this thing has better traverse, better DPM by a whole bunch, not as good accuracy, but aims a lot quicker, a hell of a lot quicker than 3.7. God, I hate this thing. This thing sucks. It's a Chinese STI that doesn't do as good. Horsepower per ton ratio is not as good, but the same top speed. A lot better reverse speed, 16 compared to 10. Faster traverse of a gigantic turret too. And the hull, but yeah, not as good camo, but better view range. I think this is better than the obvious WZ-114. Is it as good as something of a Chieftain prototype, or what's other premium? The STRVK, or even the Chinese tank destroyer? It is weird to think about this thing. It doesn't look that bad on paper, but then again, I have a soft spot for the 4502 P-OS-B. So I would say this thing is a 6.5 for a premium tank. It performs just as good as the tier 9, but I have a rammer, and even with the rammer, that only goes up to 2,300 DPM, right? I mean, you could also put like other stuff, but you could also put like toolbox or the health thingy. So for equipments, normally if you're just playing random pub, you can go whatever you want. If you're playing actual ranked or other stuff, most people will kit these out with rammer and survivability, like what the hell is this? Toolbox, super toolbox, and hardening, giggity. But yeah, they mostly put survivability. You're taking all the hits. I don't know about Spall Liner. I mean, if you don't face off against artillery, then there's no use against high explosive rounds, other than the 176, but you don't really see high explosive rounds. So Spall Liners are optional, but yeah, you definitely will want a rammer. I like rammers. Rammers are always good if you want to deal the damage, but if you're playing random pub, then obviously you're carrying the team. If you're playing something of a team sport, then rammer is optional. You're taking the hits, you're not dishing the damage. But yeah, this is old school. Vertical stabilizer, vents, and rammer. That is super old school. There's nothing of a hardening back then, so that's old school style. Let's talk field mods. First one is obviously what I think the best. You reduce the suspension durability, but improve the terrain resistance, therefore improving effective traverse and effective top speed. So I say this one's better at the cost of your track health, but you can repair that with repair skill. So okay, accuracy or aim time. Ooh, aim time's good. Go with accuracy. 2.3 for a 128. Go with better accuracy. Shave that down to like 2.5 seconds. That's fine. For a 0.33 accuracy, that's fine. So the hell did I use? Yeah, the same. Better accuracy than aim time. View range or stun duration. If you're not face off against artillery, then obviously the stun duration doesn't matter, so better view range. And 400 meters of view range is pretty good too for a German super heavy, so better view range. And finally, hull traverse, top speed against high explosive shell and ramming damage, stun duration, and crew protection. If you're not facing off against high explosive, then that's mostly for crew protection at the cost of 2 km/h top speed and hull traverse. I would say better traverse. You can have medical kits for your crew, right? You don't really need to protect your crew that much, unless it's like 3 artillery shooting at you. Definitely top speed, in my opinion. But how much would I rate this thing? 𝗣𝗏𝗄𝗃. It seems a lot better on paper at now, or for now at least. But yeah, the original WZ-114 looks good until you see the god-awful dispersion factors. So just a fresh reminder of how crap the freaking... It's 0.33. That's not good. You're not shooting this vehicle's gun while moving or traversing the turret or traversing the hull. You're not shooting anything accurately, especially with that god-awful DPM and that aim time. No. The only good thing about this vehicle is it has a lot of health. A lot of health. But you're basically a piñata. You're a punching bag for XP and credits. No, that's not what I'm playing the vehicle for. So, on paper, this thing looks pretty good. And I am biased, so I like my 4502P OSB, so I would say definitely a 7 out of 10. But I am biased, so yeah, it's good. I mean, only against like high explosive artillery shells. That's where the pain is. But if you're used to the maps, if you're used to artillery, actual places, then you can ward off by taking cover from artillery shells. But I wonder how much did skill for LTU rate the actual 4502. I mean, wow, the win rate is kind of bad. Only 2 out of 5? Oh, come on. It's at least a 3 out of 5. In my case, it's like 4 out of 5. But only 2? Biased in the other way. It's actually a good vehicle. I like mine. Very close to the dirt mark, but I don't play it anymore. I mean, obviously the E75 is better, but I still like it. You saw how thick the armor is. If you angle it just slightly, it's 320 effective upper plate and the lower plate. They don't know the vehicle since nobody plays it. It's bad. Alright, I will say it's a 7 out of 10 for the 𝗣𝗏𝗄𝗃, just because I'm biased, but if I'm not biased, then likely a 6, maybe 5.5. 6 is also pretty high. No, 6 is not high enough. 7 out of 10. Well, there you go, folks. Pz.Kpfw, 𝗣𝗏𝗄𝗃, 120 tons. It will likely be in the upcoming patch in 1.22. So we'll take a look later on with the actual armor profile. But as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Sexy